The Supreme Court's bold move, Trump administration's path to deport migrants from Djibouti to South Sudan. CNN. In a striking legal ruling on Thursday, the Supreme Court granted the Trump administration permission to transfer a group of migrants currently confined on a military base in Djibouti to South Sudan. This decision follows a previous unsigning order that allowed the administration to deport certain individuals to countries other than their homelands with minimal advance notice. The June 23 decision ignited a legal showdown specifically concerning the group of migrants detained in Djibouti. Earlier, a lower court had temporarily obstructed the migrants' removal, leading the Trump administration to urgently appeal to the Supreme Court. The High Court's ruling backed the administration, despite opposition from two liberal justices, and authorized officials to send the migrants to South Sudan. The Supreme Court emphasized that its previous ruling upheld the lower court's decisions in full. In Massachusetts, a federal judge had decided that the previous Supreme Court ruling did not apply to 8 migrants held in Djibouti, as their removal process was mandated by a separate legal decision that the administration had not contested. The detained individuals from Cuba, Vietnam, and Laos were kept in a repurposed Connex shipping container, rerouted to Djibouti en route to South Sudan. The majority opinion on Thursday maintained that the lower court's actions involving the migrants cannot now be used to enforce an injunction that the Supreme Court had stayed. Such a remedy would serve to coerce the government into compliance and would be unenforceable given our stay of the underlying injunction, the court explained. Justice Elena Kagan, aligning with the decision, noted in her supporting opinion that although she disagreed with the Supreme Court's original stance on third country removals, she understood that a district court could not enforce an order that had been stayed by the Supreme Court. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, stated that the migrants would arrive in South Sudan by Friday. These individuals will reach South Sudan by Independence Day, she declared in a statement. It's a victory for the rule of law and the safety and security of the American people. We commend our dedicated ICE law enforcement officers for their sacrifices to protect our freedoms. Attorney General Pamela Bondi also shared her excitement about the verdict on social media. The Supreme Court has once again corrected a wayward district judge, thanks to the relentless efforts of our DOJ attorneys, Bondi wrote on X. She added that President Donald Trump will continue to exercise his full authority to deport violent and criminal illegal aliens from our country. But here's where it gets controversial. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, representing the court's liberal wing, strongly dissented. The administration's concrete goal is to deport the 8 migrants it removed from the U.S. to South Sudan, where they'll be handed over to local authorities, regardless of the risk of torture or death, Sotomayor criticized. Today's ruling clarifies just one thing. Other litigants must adhere to the rules, but the administration seems to have the Supreme Court on speed dial. This latest Supreme Court decision marked a significant triumph for the administration's efforts to expedite deportations. One notable challenge for past presidencies has been persuading other countries to accept their nationals who have come to the U.S. Humanitarian organizations find the situation in South Sudan particularly alarming. Recently, the United Nations raised concerns about widespread food shortages across the country, compounded by political turbulence and increasing violence. Nonetheless, the Trump administration is carving a path to accelerate deportations by relocating migrants to alternative nations when their original homelands refuse to repatriate them. However, these deportations sometimes conflict with the Convention Against Torture, ratified by the Senate in 1994, which generally prohibits deportation to countries where a migrant risks facing torture. The legal framework remains unclear regarding how an administration should ascertain the risk and what legal rights a migrant should be granted during this process. The Trump administration contends that when it has obtained assurances from a foreign government ensuring that a migrant will not face torture, they do not need to notify the migrant, such as a Cuban national, about the destination to South Sudan. Conversely, if no such assurances are provided, policy requires the Department of Homeland Security to notify the migrant so they can raise concerns about torture. In an unsigned order on June 23rd, despite opposition from the court's liberal justices, the Supreme Court temporarily upheld the administration's policy of deporting migrants to third countries, while the underlying legal challenge continues. Sotomayor chastised the administration's approach and accused the court of rewarding lawlessness by supporting Trump's course of action. This story has been updated with additional details.